Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine a growing and prosperous region without a great downtown. Metropolitan areas that are successful have great downtowns. Now, a lot of that, I think people are calling that principle in question since the pandemic because it's really changed demographic patterns to a large degree. But I still believe that downtowns are the symbol of a region. That's what people think about with when they talk about St. Louis. I think St. Louis has some real struggles to succeed. And one of the things we did at East West Gateway is we published a report every 3 years called Where We Stand. And it compared St. Louis to metropolitan areas throughout the country on probably 65 different measures. And St. Louis consistently came out kind of on the bottom of the list in just about every ranking, growth, economics, whole series of things. And that should have been a wake-up call to people. But, for the most part, it isn't. It's a lot has to do with our sort of geopolitical makeup. We're in 2 states. We're urban, suburban, rural. We're Republican, Democrat. We're in 2 federal regions. It really kind of holds us back. And that was kind of my experience over the years. Illinois, people don't realize, I live downtown. The time to get here to your office in Fairview Heights is basically the same as it is to get to Clayton. And yet the development tends to move west. I always used to talk about how the Illinois part of our region was our greatest untapped economic asset. And again, we don't take advantage of it primarily because of those divisions that we have here in St. Louis, in this case, 2 states. Great communities here in Illinois, really poised for growth. But again, we're moving farther and farther to the west, away from the arch all the time. So yeah, that's my lecture on St. Louis.
I do think parts of Illinois should look similar to parts of St. Charles County. So Fallon, Shiloh, Edwardsville, Glen Carbon. I see no reason why there shouldn't be more growth here, further development. Do you think the MetroLink expansion to Mid-America Airport is a sign of things to come?
I don't know. Part of the problem with MetroLink is it's really not a network. It's really a couple of different routes. I think people over here have been very smart about how they pursued the expansion of MetroLink. But this is not a growing region. It doesn't matter whether you're in Missouri, Illinois. We've kind of moved around the chess pieces on the board, but we're not growing as a region, and we have to grow as a region for everybody to succeed. That's the only way it happens. So that lack of growth, I think, is something that we need to be concerned about.
And do you think that lack of growth over the last however many decades is something that's going to continue unless we make a drastic change? Or do you see glimmers of hope?
I'd always like to think there's hope, but, those bad habits that got us into this situation don't seem to be changing. So there will be pockets of prosperity, but as a region, it's hard to see how we're going to grow given the way we are. We've got to do something to overcome these geopolitical divisions that we have. We have racial divisions that really cause a lot of problems in this region. Many areas of our region don't provide good public services. Where I live in the city of St. Louis, there've been lots of stories written about the schools, about trash collection, about traffic and maintenance of basic infrastructure. One of the things that we always preached, when you hear about economic development, everybody's got an economic development office in their and professionals in their governments, and mainly that's for dispensing subsidies to developers. The places that we studied that created long-term growth did so by creating the conditions that you need for growth, which is, good public services, good infrastructure, public safety. If you do those things well, the growth will happen. And some places in St. Louis do it well and some places don't.
If I'm understanding correctly, you've been ringing the alarm bell about downtown St. Louis or the current state of downtown St. Louis because you really feel like downtown is the core piece that needs to be, quote, solved in order to move the whole region forward. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine a growing and prosperous region without a great downtown. Metropolitan areas that are successful have great downtowns. Now, a lot of that, I think people are calling that principle in question since the pandemic because it's really changed demographic patterns to a large degree. But I still believe that downtowns are the symbol of a region. That's what people think about when they talk about St. Louis. So yeah, I think that having a great downtown is essential, and it's why I've been spending a lot of my waking hours worrying about it.
And it's also very interesting that you decide to live downtown. Like being an outsider myself and being in the region for 10 years, whenever I have someone come and visit, I feel compelled to, number one, show them the entire region. But then also there's a part of me that just feels like I need to explain away downtown. I need to explain why downtown is the way it is and why it's not reflective of a metro area of 3 million people. That part about downtown really being, I guess, similar to the front door of a region, the central core, and us not having that currently, it is very, I think it's sad, but I do see hope for the future. A part of that may be because, I've only been here for 10 years, maybe 20, 30 years down the line, I may say something different, but it has all the right pieces. It has the bones. We have some things going for us. And your plan or your organization's plan, if it were to be put into effect, I think could help turn downtown around. Currently, downtown St. Louis, just for context, is struggling both from a crime perspective, an office vacancy perspective, and I believe it's the first or the second worst recovery in terms of post-COVID and people going back to work. Did I say anything that was not correct there?
You haven't said anything I haven't heard before.